Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be a Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report. It's going to be at 2,500 points, and it's going to be my Warriors of Chaos versus Skaven. But this battle here is my entry for the little campaign I'm doing, which is around the world in 12 games. And the whole idea is that we're trying to get a lot of different people out there posting battle reports, and we want to get more people playing against more races. And so the random one for this month was the Skaven. I arranged a game to play against them. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. So the army I'm using here, I was actually going to be using for another one I'll be playing tomorrow. But it should be pretty interesting. And then hold off to the end, and we'll talk a little bit of Skaven stuff. But let's see what happens. All right, so first looking on his side, he has a big block of 50 slaves and then a big, huge horde of rat ogres. So if you thought, 54 strength 5 attacks is good coming from my trolls, this is 60 strength 5 attacks. So it's pretty good. Otherwise, over here, he has a big horde of the Storm Vermin, and he also has Creek Head Taker. So these are actually the super ones with +1 weapon skill and strength. In there, he also has a Chieftain BSB and 3 Engineers. One's a level 2, one's a level 1. Attached to the unit, he has a Rattling Gun. Then he has a very cool converted Warp Lightning Cannon, Hell Pit Abomination, and then more 50 Slaves and another Warp Lightning Cannon. On my side on this flank, now, you might already be kind of wondering why his deployment was kind of spaced out and stuff. Well, this is actually Dawn Attack, and so first I rolled for my unit with Throg, and I put a more to the other side, and then I started rolling these trolls, and I rolled a 1, and I rolled a 1, and actually, luckily for me, for my general, I rolled a 1 as well, so I have 2 troll hordes over here, and my general is actually a level 1 Chaos Sorcerer with the Lore of Fire, and he'll need to babysit these guys to get them over to the fight as quickly as possible. Otherwise, here in the middle more, I have a Nurgle Giant. I also have 6 Trolls with Throg and a Chimera. And then finally on the last flank, I have a regular Giant. So the board looks like this. We just kind of threw some terrain down. He already went into the forest at the top, and we know that's a regular forest. But like I was saying, he rolled a 1 for one of his slaves, a 2 for the other. So that's why they're all away from his general and BSB, which he placed first. And my deployment is just as bad, with the trolls being way over there. At least my general's over there too, but wow. That could be kind of bad. It could be the whole army versus Throg if you wanted. So he got first turn, and the first thing he does is shoots, well, he moves up a little bit here, but he shoots a cannon, hops over my trolls, lands perfect on the Chimera, fail the regen, he gets 4 wounds. That's a dead Chimera. So, I hope to get a little bit more work from him, but yeah, what can you do? These things happen, and I should still have enough to deal with his army. Otherwise, at the end of his turn, it looks like this. So the Hell Pit just kind of moved a little bit more centrally. I think he was trying to hold back because at the time that Chimera is alive, it has that breath weapon, flame attack, blah, blah, blah. So he's kind of just like going more to the middle. Otherwise, yeah, the rest of the armies are kind of pushing up, and it's pretty obvious that I can't get the Troll Horde over to Throg before they'd be intercepted by the Rat Ogres. Now, that's a pretty interesting fight because, we're both 2 big monstrous infantry hordes, but whereas he has more attacks, because he'll have 6 more attacks to me, he'll also be striking first. He also has another ranking there from all the handlers in the back. The big difference is that I have regen compared to no save on him at all. So I think I'd win that fight, but if he combines in with some slaves or something else, who knows? I mean, when you're throwing that many dice, you never really know what's going to happen. So on my turn, I run the giant past here, marching him so he's outside of the line of sight of these slaves, so I can try and get to his cannons in the back. And otherwise, it looks like this. I throw all my dice at a big fireball at his Hell Pit Abomination, but he stops it. On his turn, the only spell he got off was the Howling Winds or whatever, that makes it so that my Chimera couldn't fly, and then he died anyway. But yeah, you can see there, my trolls are going up. I'm a little bit closer to those slaves than I want to be, but otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to be holding back with Throg until my the backup comes. So on his turn, he makes it. It actually wasn't that far of a charge. He rolled just exactly what he needed to get me, which was I was only 11 inches away. So like I said, not very hard. He didn't go in with the slaves, so he won't get those extra ranks. But yeah, we're going to have to see who's going to win this fight. And after it was all done, it did not go well for the Rat Ogres. He was able to do 9 wounds, so kill 3 of the trolls. I haven't done the math, but it's a lot of stuff there, right? What was it? 60 attacks. That'd be 30 hits, 20 wounds. Regen goes down to 10. So I guess he just did slightly under average. And then when I went back, I did 15 wounds to him. He broke. I ran him down. I go to the flank of these slaves, and you know, if the Rat Ogre fell to these guys, these slaves are in for a world of hurt. So otherwise, the board looks like this. His one little Hell Pit Abomination started coming after my giant there. Didn't quite make it. The other slaves turned to look at me. In this turn of Magic Phase, he tried doing some Warp Lightning, and I stopped it. I believe I actually even used my scroll this turn to make sure to stop that one. But yeah, I mean, he's up a Chimera, but destroying that Rat Ogre horde, that is a ton of points. So on my turn, these trolls are stupid, and they just kind of bump into the back of my general. And over here, I get a charge into his Warp Lightning Cannon, so that should be an easy win. And otherwise, I do Super Fireball to his Hell Pit Abomination, and manage to do 2 wounds. So it's not a lot of wounds, but if nothing else, now if I ever do kill him, I don't need to worry about him coming back. So it's good to have that out of the way. I, of course, also marched him up so that he could be within general range of the trolls up there. So in this fight here, he actually did okay against me. He did a wound or something, but, you know, against him, it's just so many attacks. I think I killed 24 guys, but one of the mistakes I made here is I decided to chase him, and I didn't catch him, so I didn't even get the points for that, but I really needed to just reform and face more of the center, because now these guys are kind of far out there, and it could be really close for being within the general's leadership, and yeah, definitely should not have ran after these guys. Otherwise, over here, like you'd expect, the giant just beat up the Warp Lightning Cannon, and now he's ready to go fight the other one. And at the end of the turn, it looks like this. So, yeah, like I said, I'm still kicking myself for going there. I'm still trying to wait with Throg because I really want to have some support before anything happens here. But man, with that one troll horde failing stupidity, that's really not helping. Otherwise, I didn't want to charge into the Hell Pit Abomination with the giant because I want to try and hit him with the fireball first, and I really just moved him over to protect the flank of Throg. So on his turn, we're going to get this fight, and his Hell Pit comes up against my giant here, Nurgle Giant. And over here, the Warp Lightning Cannon tries to shoot and explodes. So, it happens. I should also say that in the last turn there, he shot both of his cannons at Throg, and both of them hit, but they were both strength 2. Just really bad luck. So, against me, I actually thought I'd be doing okay, because he comes in with his impact hits, he does a couple of wounds, he does the thing where I have to pass an initiative test, I pass it, and then I do a headbutt him and do a wound. So I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to hold him up, he's going to get no attacks next time. And then we realize that with that one roll of his, he still gets extra attacks, and he just cranked it all, killed my giant, and so there is no headbutt. He just turns to look at me, and even worse, my giant fell onto my trolls and killed a troll. So, way to go, giant. Otherwise, it looks like this. His slaves kept on running. His storm vermin moving on up. The other slaves, I believe they're now, yeah, they're facing Throg as well. But the one thing I like here is that he did not move up far enough so that the trolls couldn't see him. That's the flank of the storm vermin. So I can go for the supercharge. So stupidity, I fail with these guys again. So here's a huge chunk of points that are doing nothing the whole game. But I did pass the stupidity with these guys. When I slid over the two from the back rank, I was just within 12 inches. So I passed their stupidity on both these units anyway, and they both charge in. I took a wound from his stand and shoot, but yeah, this is not going to be good for Queek and his little elite unit here. So we get into a challenge here. It's going to be Queek versus Throg, and I'm pretty sure I know who's going to win this one. Going into this, he actually does have the Flame Banner, so he's going to do quite a few wounds to me for whatever hits goes through. You know, he's strength 5 even. But the bad thing is that he actually fails his fear test because I'm disrupting his ranks. He's only, what, leadership 7. He fails it even with the reroll. So even though he's strength 5 with flaming, he doesn't do that much to me because he's hitting on 5s. So we didn't really change it here. Really, the giant is swinging around. We killed like 26 of the storm vermin, as well as Queek died as well. And then when they broke, I didn't catch them. But when we looked at it, you know, the BSB would have been dead. The banner here, who knows if he would even rallied. And basically at this point, he's just in tatters, right? All the stuff is a real mess. The Hell Pit comes in a Throg or something like that. I still have my breath weapon I could use. So, yeah, we just decided to call it at this point. So that's a good old victory to Throg. And as far as this game goes here, it really is a thing where, you know, it could have really changed given how that fight went with the Rat Ogres. And the thing that really sucks with that is that they are so many points compared to Trolls, but apparently GW thinks that stupidity is really bad. But hey, then again, maybe it is, right? I had a whole horde of Trolls that did nothing the whole game because they ended up on a flank and they failed their stupidity rules. So Trolls are pretty crazy. I didn't really mean it to use them against this guy. I wanted to use kind of a nicer dwarf list. But yeah, it's kind of a surprise game. And now I'll do a little chat about Skaven. So that was kind of a bad loss for the Skaven, and there's a lot of people out there that say, you know, Skaven now isn't the army they used to be. They're actually a lower tier army and all that stuff. And I really don't agree with that. I know before they were very strong, and a lot of their tricks that they used to have don't matter anymore. The ones that be the biggest ones are the stuff like, okay, well, I'll just do Dread 13th and turn on you guys to rats. Well, now there's a lot of monsters and monstrous infantry where it's completely useless against. You know, this army of his probably would have done better with a Grace here, but at the same time, maybe not because 13th would have done anything. But at the same time, you still have all the numbers. You have fairly good war machines. You know, Warp Lightning Cannons are random, but then again, they are fairly deadly and fairly cheap at the same time. You have the Brass Orb, you have all these little tiny tricks you have in there, and I think really with that all in play, I can't see any reason why you wouldn't say Skaven is at the same level as everybody else. Now, with that being said, why aren't you seeing more Skaven armies? And why aren't you seeing more Skaven in tournaments? I think it has nothing to do with power level and everything to do with the fact that Skaven armies have like 300 plus models in the actual army. And so to really go and paint these guys up and bring them to a tournament, and then at the same time, like either I can take these 300 models and I can go in there and I have to try and sometimes deal with leadership issues depending on the scenario. I have to play very smart. Or I could just go to Wars of Chaos, take a Demon Prince and some Chariots and whatever. You know, I'm only having to deal with like an army of 12 models and then push them forward in Purple Sun, right? I mean, I can really see why you see more of one where it's, you know, cheaper and easier to paint and easier to play as opposed to Skaven. But at the same time, Skaven still is a good army, and now the Borgnine isn't playing as much with his Skaven. I'm always tempted that maybe I should like borrow his Skaven and play a few games, but it's one of those things where if I really want to play a horde, I could just do Night Goblins. So there you go. Hope you really like watching the video. For the whole campaign, it's all within the Google Plus Warhammer YouTubers page. I'll put a link down below. But really, there's still time to join. If you just get a play a game with Skaven or against Skaven, just let me know about it, right? Send me a message. And at the end of the month here, I'll be doing a review and covering everybody's battles so that everybody know who's doing battles, and should be a lot of fun. So there you go, and we'll catch you later. Bye.